branding and the customer experience. Those are some things that you might put together, or maybe you don't. And there's some things that really complete the package. And this pretty much goes for anything, but I'm going to focus on the car audio side of that, being as this is a car audio company. There's a few things to consider with what you're actually getting when you buy something, and it's not just the product itself. There's a lot of other things that go along with that that sometimes people don't think about, particularly when they're looking at the cost of a product and making a comparison. And while I'm thinking of it, since I'm driving, if you want to get a rebate on your fuel, gasoline and diesel, make sure you download the app Get Upside in the description below. There's a link, install that. You can see the gas stations that are around you. You get a bonus for the first time you use it. And I saved quite a bit of money using that app, as I do quite a bit of driving and drive a gas guzzler. I've got a few of them. So go download that. It'll work out for you, save a bunch of money on that. So the consumer experience really starts from when you start looking at a product. So you go to a company's website, and that can often tell you a lot about the company. Not so much the history of the company or anything like that, but the quality of the website, how easy it is to browse, how easy it is to make a purchase. If it is a GeoCities website, which some of you may not know what that is, but if it's something like that that looks like it's 25 years old, probably not going to be a good place to buy from. Probably not a great product. They don't keep up with their website and that kind of thing. So that's just one of those things to consider. How the company presents themselves is definitely going to be a first indicator. So then let's say you have a question about that product and you contact them, be it a contact form or an email address or something like that, social media. When you contact them, how fast do they respond? What kind of response do you get? Is it a very vague auto response, like a copy-paste response with the general stuff? Is it a personalized thing that actually answers your questions? How quick do they respond? Is it one business day? Is it several business days? Is it a month? I've actually emailed companies that I either A, never got a response on, or B, it was literally months before I got a response. And there are some car audio companies that I know people have complained to me that they expect getting a response in 2 to 3 weeks. Like, that's their expectation, is weeks to get a response on something. So there's another thing, is if the response to a simple question before the purchase takes quite a bit of time, that might be an indication of how the company's run. If you have a warranty issue, what might happen, all kinds of things there. So there's another consideration. Now, in our case, if you call us, nobody's going to answer the phone, most likely. We don't have people sitting by a phone waiting on people to call. You can leave a voicemail. We will get that voicemail, but we got to have free time to go back and call. Now, why does that actually take time? Because if you look at call logs, which I do, the average customer call, be it a callback or coming in, is over 30 minutes. Most of the time, it's something that starts as something small and turns into something huge. They want to tell you a giant story and all this other stuff. It ends up being 30 to 60 minutes, but most of them are just over 30 minutes. So that takes up an enormous amount of time that we could be doing other things. And in the message, it says, for a faster response, send to this email address. And the reason for that is checking email. You can check a few emails in a couple minutes and you can respond to them, but we've also found that you generally have a more direct, straight to the point email. It's usually not a gigantic email. So we can actually contact more people quicker via email. It also keeps track of back and forth what was said, and if you contact us back again later, we're on the same page. We don't have to try to recall that or anything like that. But also, multiple people can get to that email. And in addition to that, I actually respond to messages on Facebook, Instagram, email, forums, everywhere, all times of the day. It's not limited to just business hours. Our phone system turns on and off to where you would get into it or not based on our hours of operation, but I'm still responding to things late at night, on weekends. Anybody who's ever contacted us knows that you generally don't go more than 12 hours any day of the week, holidays, anything, without a response. Our goal is 24 hours, business days, weekends, anything. The goal is 24 hours, but obviously you have to sleep. Sometimes it's 12 hours that you won't get a response. It'll probably never go over 24 hours. If it was more than 24 hours, we never got it. So that's how we approach customer service before the sale and after the sale. But in some cases, that's not the case. So now we're up to the point of purchase. You've made your purchase, you get the product, and let's say the product is great, you're happy, your customer experience is good. What if you have a problem with the product? You realize that's not the right product for you, you have a potential warranty claim, anything like that. Now you go back to the company, so what's their response time like? Again, we try to be under 24 hours. Not everybody is like that. We have less than 1% of products that are trying to be a warranty claim. So that's not a big deal. Any response to that is going to be quick. We may ask you questions to make sure that it's not another hardware failure. Like say you say, my sub stopped playing, I think it's blown. We might guide you through some things to make sure that the amp is not the problem. And we have done that before, and the amp was the problem, or it was a setting, or something like that. Something didn't sound right, we guide you in the right direction, and the product is fine. So you didn't end up sending it in, wasting time, we find out that it is fine, that kind of thing. So we'll do a low-level version of that. And not all companies will. Some will just say, send it back. Some might go through a bunch of stuff, asking you a ton of questions, trying to find a reason to not warranty it, which I've seen happen before, not just with car audio, with a lot of things. So let's say it is a warranty claim. How fast are they going to address that? Let's say you just want a refund. How fast is that refund happening? That isn't generally an issue for us, but I have experienced one such thing with one such company, and that company was Rockville, if you couldn't guess. So if you saw the other videos, below rated power, I blew up the sub, so I had a problem with the sub. The sub should be covered under warranty because it failed with less than what it was rated for. The expectation was it should take rated, it was not. I have video documentation of it failing below rated power. So I sent an email. So here's the process that happened with that entire purchase. That, remember, these are cheap products. I had the cheap product experience, but there's more to it than the product itself. And I made some notes because I couldn't obviously remember all this, but I placed my order on August 3rd. It shipped on August 5th, so the actual ship time was relatively quick. We try to ship the same business day, at worst, depending what time you order, the next business day. That's another part of the buying experience, is how fast does it ship? If it's in stock, we ship it immediately. If it's a pre-order or it's a back order, that's something that we make very clear on the product page. So we never want to hear you say, well, I didn't know, look on the product page, it's always at the very top of it. So it shipped August 5th. By August 13th, I emailed them and I said, this product failed, I need an RMA on it. And within, I think it was 10 minutes, 20 minutes, I had a response, which was pretty good. I was impressed at that. Their response was asking what brand and model of amplifier I had on the sub, how was the sub wired, like series or parallel, So they're trying to gauge, did I have an amplifier that was too large on it? Well, I did have my 7500 on it, but I didn't turn up the volume. I had exact clamp power, so it was nowhere near 7500. They asked where the amp was grounded. I'm not exactly sure what that has to do with blowing the sub. Was the power wire on the amp fused? Which, again, doesn't make sense at all, other than if they're trying to figure out, is the sub not playing because the amp isn't on? But they didn't ask, is the amp on? They asked, is the power wire fused? They asked if I had a capacitor on the power wire, which again doesn't make sense at all. If it were a super cap, which I did respond back to them saying that I had 8 banks of super capacitors, that versus, like, say, one of their 1 or 2 farad caps that aren't really 1 or 2 farads and actually hurt the system anyway, I don't know. And they asked if there were any other speakers connected, perhaps trying to figure out if I only had 1 sub connected, did the 1 sub blow, or did I have multiple subs and only that one didn't play? It was very vague. I think there would have been a better way to get to those questions, like, is the amp on, or have you tried another speaker connected to it, which are things that I would ask. But I don't know, maybe is the amp on too hard of a question? I don't know. But they asked these questions, and I answered truthfully. I said that I had clamped power on the sub. You know, here's the video. They saw it before any of you did. I sent it along to them, told them everything with my electrical, exactly what amp, exactly how much power, and I responded the same day with all that information. Now, August 17th, 4 days later, they were demanding more information about all this stuff, which really doesn't matter because I showed you the video that showed exactly how much power was on it when it failed. The exact conditions. You saw the footage, that's what I sent them. So the next day, August 18th, I got an RMA. So that's a return merchandise authorization. They said, yes, you can send this back. We will check it out and see if it is a warranty claim. Great. Wonderful. August 20th, there's a response with the RMA for that. Then, because the 18th they said they would, but I didn't get the RMA, but on the 20th I did. Then on August 26th, so 6 days later, I emailed saying, hey, you received it 5 days ago. Took 2 days to get there. So they were at for 5 days when I went for correspondence, because they did not. And then the 27th, they responded to say I would get a refund in up to 7 days, or 7 business days. So for those in other countries that don't know what we refer to as business days here, that'd be Monday through Friday. Weekends don't count. So 7 business days, which if you include a weekend, is potentially 9 days to actually get the refund. Okay, cool. That was August 27th. September 11th, so we're talking 13 days later, I got notification that I would be getting a refund. So we're already well past the 9 days. 13 days, got notification of a refund. 5 days after that, September 16th, I actually got the refund. So from the time that I got the RMA, it was 28 days to get a refund, 26 days from them receiving it. So that's part of that customer experience where it took almost a month to get a refund on a sub that failed, that really shouldn't be rated that way. That's why it failed to begin with. But nearly a month. Now for me, that's not a big deal. It was $140. It wasn't going to break me by not having my $140 for a month. But I do know that there are people that they would have bought that $140 sub and they wanted to buy a different sub because they returned that, they want a refund, they're just going to get a different sub altogether. But they can't buy another sub until they have that $140 back. So that's almost a month that they don't have that money, that they can't go buy another sub. Now, in that case, for me, I wouldn't want to put somebody in that position. If I don't have another offering for them, I don't want to withhold their money for a month to where they can't get another sub, even from somebody else, because that affects the brand. That affects their response. There could be 6 months or a year from now, they go, okay, now I can get in something. The way that I handled that refund and getting that money back to them, they'll remember that. And they could come back to the EMF brand when they can upgrade. So I try to keep that in mind, that if somebody has a bad experience, they never forget it. And if they have a really good experience, they never forget it. And that's how you set yourself aside, is the customer experience from the very beginning, asking about the product, researching the product, to getting the product, being happy with the product, and if there's a problem afterwards, addressing it quickly and effectively. And there are larger companies that have a lot larger staff and they move a lot more product and that kind of thing, but you can't let that go on the wayside. It is easy for me to deal with all this because we don't have hundreds of thousands of subs going out all the time, but we don't need the staff for that. But the idea is to always grow with that, so you always maintain the same level of support and you have a quick response, and you make sure that you keep them happy all the time, so they will keep coming back as a return customer. If you have less employees, you have less overhead, and that means you could potentially either make more money in your product or sell your product cheaper. So that's something to consider, is if it is a cheaper product, they may not have the available extra money to support it beforehand or after. They may also not have a shift that is outside of business hours. I do it not because I have to, but because I want to. I want the customers to get a quick response. I want them to send me something, well, not necessarily requesting that you do send me something at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, but if you do, I'd like to have a response to you that same night, because then if you're making a product decision, you can go ahead and make that decision. You can make that purchase. That's the ideal scenario. Everybody wants instant gratification now, and that's what sets us aside from everybody else that's doing retail sales. So remember, whenever you're looking at any product, not just car audio, literally anything, consider the entire experience from the very beginning to the very end. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell for all of our new uploads. Make sure you're keeping up with Tech Stuffs Tuesday, including the entire playlist. You can watch the whole thing. We've got dozens of them already uploaded and some more coming. Make sure you download Get Upside, save on your gas. I save a lot of money, seriously. If you hit the join button next to subscribe, you can get a premium membership for less than the price of a cup of coffee. You'll get exclusive videos that only the members see, as well as access to live chat with me. We do that periodically, and early releases like this. They're seeing it before everybody else does. Make sure you shop EMF Car Audio for all of your car audio needs, and I'll see you next time.